All right, what's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now today what we're looking at is a 1996 Toyota HiAce Super Custom Limited. And for those that don't know, this is actually a camper van from the 90s that we in the US didn't get an opportunity to own. So now that the 25-year rule is in place for all Japanese cars, it's a great opportunity for us to be able to import these cars, and now you see people buying these Japanese camper vans, and they're increasing in popularity due to the fact that it was just something that we couldn't have. And in this example today, I just wanted to give you guys a quick overview of the exterior as well as the interior and my overall thoughts on why I think this is just a really unique and cool camper van. But before we get into the video, I did want to make a huge shout out to Alex and the folks over at Ellis Motors JDM for giving me this opportunity to be able to drive this car. So what I'll do is I'll have linked below is their current inventory that you can check out. And if you see any cool camper vans, or maybe even this car in particular, that'd be a great place for you to go check it out. But I think with that being said, let's just dive right in. Now, what can be said about the body styling of this van in particular is it definitely screams the 90s. I mean, you don't really get to see this two-tone design that has the little pinstripes that go across. I mean, that's something that is quintessentially only done in the 90s. And it's something that you definitely want to be looking for, you know, when you're thinking about anything that's nostalgic. But in this case, since this wasn't a vehicle that we actually got, it's just being able to be so refreshing to see a van that, you know, kind of has a little bit more personality to it. And I will say too, that the oversized tires on this really adds to the van itself, giving you a little bit more ground clearance and a little bit more confidence when being able to go off-roading. So this currently has a set of BF Goodrich KO2s, and just speaking from experience, I could tell you that this is an awesome tire to take off on, you know, overlanding, off-roading, things of that sort. Now, am I gonna recommend that you take this car on a vertical, you know, cliffside that's going almost straight up? Probably not. I think it's gonna be better suited for somebody that just wants to do like some light off-roading for their camping adventures. Saying that you could definitely take this into the mountains or wherever you need to go that is off the hidden path, and you'd feel pretty relatively comfortable about it. But, you know, with its boxier design, there isn't too much to be said here except for the fact that it does have, you know, the little goodies that come with the Super Custom Limited. One of the things that really sticks out to me, especially with all the rain that we get here, is it has these really cool little rain guards that say HiAce on it. It's got the step up on the side for the driver and the passenger. And, you know, what could be really said about this is that there's so much room in this van, even though it's not that big. And I think that's a real testament to just like the ingenuity behind this. But when we open up here, now when you get a chance to sit in the back seat of this car, I think this is where this van really starts to shine, because I can literally kick my feet up and be so comfortable in this little van. And what's great too is this car doesn't have one sunroof, it doesn't have two, it has 3 sunroofs. And 2 of them are so tiny that I would almost consider them to be almost just like a light source in the back that you can definitely adjust. And this one opens up all the way. And actually, does this one open up all the way? I think this does open up all the way. But anyways, there's so much space for you to be able to either sit like everyone else would, or if you wanted to take the seats out completely, that would open up a lot of opportunities to be able to do something more on the DIY side. You know, if you wanted to sleep back here, you could create some drawers maybe if you wanted to. I mean, the possibilities are endless. And if you look up Toyota HiAce builds out there, I'm willing to bet that there is an endless amount of information on just like ideas that you can get when, you know, when you want to get creative with using this van. But, you know, in terms of just like creature comforts, it has everything that you need. There's a bunch of vents up here. There's cup holders to put your things, but nothing too crazy over the top. I will say that it's really cool that it has these electrically powered curtains that you could roll out so you have a little bit of more privacy, you know, when it comes down to you wanting to go to sleep, if you're in a car park or you're up in the woods. It's just kind of nice to have a little bit more of that privacy. And just to give you guys a little bit more of an idea of how large it is back here, this is me chilling in the back of this van. And with the wide focal lens, you're getting everything completely captured in the back. And there is still so much room that I could almost lay completely flat with the seats in it and still have some room. So if you really wanted to live out of this thing, I think it'd be more than possible. You just have to get more creative on your situation with, you know, how you're going to cook and stuff like that. But if you just wanted a place that you're going to be resting your head while you're on the road, I think this could be a really cool opportunity. All right, let's take this thing for a spin. Now what's nice is you have a little bit of a side step, so helps get up into this thing a little bit easier. It's funny enough, if you've ever been in a 90s Toyota, even though this is a JDM car, right off the bat you see a lot of similarities. Like, I almost immediately recognize the shifter just from like old Corollas and Camrys and stuff that I've owned in the past. Even these little buttons and switches here, even though they might not be exactly for like a Corolla or a Camry or any Toyota model from the US, it still does look eerily familiar. Some things that you're going to see right off the bat is the climate control is electronic, which is, you know, pretty nice. Just a little bit afraid if it ever breaks, or, you know, sometimes you see the LCD screens go bad, but luckily in this one it's all good. And then you got some switches here that controlled the curtains to open and close them. Right now they're all opened up and there's like a little button that holds them secure. So I think a demonstration maybe for next time will have to be done, but you know, let's just fire this thing right up. And what's so cool is something that I really appreciate is when you put the key in, watch this. Did you see that? That's so cool. I remember that from like the old Lexus LS 400s. That's like a key feature that you get in that car, and that's supposed to be like one of the most luxurious cars you can get. So getting that in like a camper van is pretty cool. And for those wondering about the engine specs, this is actually not a gasoline engine, but rather a diesel. So when you hear it fire up, it may sound a little bit bizarre if you're not used to it. But it fires right up, and it's got a digital gauge, which is so cool. I mean, isn't this just like something that you should see in a new car, but you're seeing this from a 90s camper van. And I know this isn't completely stock. This is some sort of aftermarket stereo that's been implemented into the car. But one thing that I did want to mention is it's very strange, the driving position. So you have like the steering column coming out, but the brake pedal is so tiny and it's right next to the gas. So definitely like a little bit of a learning curve there when you're first getting into this car. And I hope I'm doing this any justice because it is a little bit crammed in here. But if you can see my feet, this is where the gas and the brakes are. And of course you have your dead pedal on the left. So let's take this thing for a spin. Well, you can go. It's pretty cozy up front. I would say if you're you know, a little bit on the more huskier side, you may want to try getting into one of these first, if in the event you wanted to, you know, ship this car internationally or something like that, just to make sure you fit. Because even for somebody that's a pretty average size human, it does feel a little bit like it could get a little too narrow for some people. And it is so strange driving on the opposite side. This is my first time driving a right-hand drive car, so bear with me here as if maybe I'm just driving a little bit slower than usual, but I just want to make sure we take good care of this car. And you know, the difference is, especially with a gasoline versus a diesel, is the diesel is going to be much torquier. You will lose a little bit of power like in the top end, but your towing capability is going to be much, much better. I think that's what's going to be super important with something like this. Let's see how she does. Going straight uphill, this is a perfect example for this. Really get to feel the torque. And I just can't get over how cool this odometer is. It really makes the driving experience so cool. And frankly, it feels a lot more comfortable than I thought it was going to be driving on the right-hand side of the road. It's just, what you're doing is, instead of using the left side as like your measurement of how far away you are from the curb, you have to use the opposite side. So you kind of have to get used to that. And especially making left-hand turns, I feel like could be nightmarish, especially if you can't see on like this side of what's going on. But God, what an experience. This is so cool. And it sits so tall and it's super spacious and comfortable. I can imagine this if you had like a whole family or just like a bunch of your buddies in the back. Like this would just be the dream. You just be cruising on the highway in this thing. And with the off-road KO2s, you don't really feel much of the knobbiness from the tires, which I'm really glad to feel, because I thought maybe, you know, it'd be a little concerning with extra knobby tires on a car like this, but you don't feel a thing. It really just glides. The suspension is definitely on the softer side, which is not a bad thing at all. But let's oh, turn signals. Turn signals are on the opposite side. That's so bizarre. Okay, we'll have to get used to that. I almost turned on the windshield wipers instead. I did not mean to do that. Because I was going here to try and signal right, but it wasn't doing anything. I thought I broke it. But actually, the turn signals are on this side. So, something to get used to. Now this will be the ultimate test, being in a right-hand drive car and making sure I don't hit the cyclist that's to the right of me. And of course he's doing no hands too. My God. Okay, we're good, we're good. Oh yeah, you can get used to right-hand drive super easily. I mean, it's not as intimidating as I thought it was gonna be. Oh, I turned on the windshield wipers. No!